pivo. If you don't know what pivo is, it's basically a product that you put in your arena when you're riding, and it tracks you and your horse riding around, so you don't have to force your semi-unwilling husband to do the groundwork for you. I'm just going to quickly show you guys how I'm putting it together, and then we'll take it out in the paddock and hopefully it works. This is the tripod stand that it came with. This is a little pivo, the smart mount. This goes on top of the pivo if you're not using the smart mount, and this is a little box that it came in. You can use the smart mount and a little pivo, or you can just use a little pivo by itself. So if you just want to use the pivo by itself, you screw it onto here. You pop that on there and screw it on there. It's got a little spirit level to help you make sure that everything is even. If you're using the smart mount, you put the smart mount on top of here, like that, and then your phone goes in there. I'm not going to use the smart mount today, I'm just going to use the pivo by itself because I just don't want to complicate things and I just want to see how it works, just the basic pivo. Let's get crack-a-lackin' and I'll see you guys in the paddock. So I've set my pivo up in the middle of the arena and you can see how big it is. So you can see me here riding in front of the pivo just to try and pick it up and get it to focus on the horse shape. And it follows me around quite nicely in a walk. You'll see the settings that I've got pop up on the screen now. So just take a note of those because they are the settings that I wouldn't recommend for what I'm actually riding for. So you can see it's quite jolty as it's following Flash around, and he's not doing a very fast trot at all. He's actually going quite slow and it just is not keeping up with him. And it is quite jolty. So I did actually realize afterwards that I didn't have the spirit level, and that actually makes quite a big difference when you're trying to get the pivo to follow you smoothly. So keep that in mind if that is something that you're having problems with. Just make sure the spirit level is level. If you're riding in a sandy arena, I would recommend putting down some stones or something like that, or some pavement, just so it stays nice and even. You can see here it is having a trouble keeping up with me, and then it actually loses me completely here, but I just rode back in front of her and then it was just like, oh, okay, there you are, I'll keep following you now. So you can see I did have quite a bit of trouble in this particular ride, but it's kind of good because it helped me sort of batten out all the things that I was doing wrong. And then it is a good example of what it looks like when it's not working well. So from this particular ride, I mean, I wouldn't really recommend it, just because it's just not keeping up with me. It loses me in the canter, it loses me again, and I had to keep riding past to pick it up. You can see here, it actually does follow me nicely. So I'm further away here and it's doing the automatic follow and the automatic zoom, which actually looks quite nicely in this ride. But I started cantering and went over a jump and then I actually fell off, but because I didn't have it on the right settings, it missed me. But luckily Flash came to the rescue and decided that he wanted to get me on film falling off. So he was just like, off you go, there we go, got that one on film. So that was a great experience for me. And my finger is still broken, I think. Anyway, I hopped back on and kept having a ride. And like I said, it was the same sort of settings. And it did lose me here at this horse, but I rode past again and it picked it back up, went over the trot poles and continued on my ride, and it kept following me. And you can just see as the filming goes on that it just wasn't keeping up with me that nicely. As soon as I went anything faster than a trot, basically, it just doesn't keep up. So there we go, it lost me again, but it's picked me up again. I'm going over the trot poles and then it's just not keeping up with me. But don't fear, keep watching because it actually does get a lot better. So in this particular ride, I decided to take all of the settings down a notch. So I basically put it on a really, really basic setting. You can see there I've got no auto zoom, no auto follow, and just on normal. Basically, this was just me riding around in circles and it not following me at all. You don't really need a pivo for this, so I don't know why I bothered putting these settings on, but at least Flash looks cute doing his little matchy trotting. So we'll move on to the next video, and this is when it really starts getting good. So this is when I was finally getting used to the settings that I wanted to use, and you'll see them pop up on the screen shortly. And these are the settings that I've stuck with now that I'm using the pivo more frequently, and I'm actually gotten very used to using these settings and they work really well for me. Unfortunately, Flash is being a little bit of a butthole in this particular ride. He likes to put his head up and down. He just doesn't like contact when we're trotting, but he gets there. So you can see in this ride, it's following me a lot better. It follows me even behind the trees and the flags. It still manages to keep up with me, which I'm really impressed with. It's not really an easy job to follow a horse while he's trotting behind the trees, and it just manages to keep up. I'm super impressed with it in this ride. This was the first ride that I used it that I was like, wow, this is actually working really well. And you can see as we start going faster and cantering that it's keeping up with me. It's nice and smooth. It's not as jolty as it was in the first couple of rides. I mean, I did go out of screen there, but like I say multiple times, it's a robot and you can't expect everything from it. It's not a person. It does rely on technology, and I mean, I think it's pretty fancy, to be honest. The way that it manages to keep up with me, I'm cantering past it, doing all sorts of fancy things, and it's just doing a really good job. I'm just super happy with it. I'm actually going to stop talking now so you guys can just enjoy watching Flash do a few different things in the arena, and I'll catch up with you guys at the end of the video and just give a bit of a summary of the pivo after using it a couple of times. So I'll talk to you guys in a sec and you can just enjoy what the pivo can do. summarize my experience with the pivo so far, I have used it about 10 times at this point, and I think I'm finally happy with the settings that I've got it on. Usually I'll ride with AI, which is artificial intelligence, on frenzy, and then I have auto zoom on as well. So that just means when I'm further away, it follows me and zooms in, and then it zooms out when I'm closer. Duh. So I'm really happy with those settings. Everything's working well for me. As you can see from the last couple of rides when I was wearing red or had the red saddle pad on, it really followed me really well as I was going past when I was cantering, which was the only issue that I kind of had at the start of using it. And I think that's just purely because I didn't have it on frenzy, so it was kind of just like, where'd you go, where'd you go? But other than that, it's working really, really well for me. I'm continuing to use it. Pretty much every time I ride, I'll grab it out and pop it in the middle of my arena or in the corner of my arena, depending on what I'm doing. It's getting me quite a lot of good shots for my Instagram, which is Flash the Welsh Pony. If you don't follow me on there, follow me on there. So depending on what you want to use it for, you can weigh out whether it's going to be worth it for you. I think I mentioned at the start of the video, I've got the whole package, so that includes the tripod stand and the smart mount, which I haven't even used. I'm really happy with just the basic pivo. You don't even have to get the tripod stand if you don't want to, because it is compatible with other tripods. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would. Are there some problems with it? Yes, there are. Join the pivo community horse riding community on Facebook, or follow Get Pivo on Instagram. You can sort of see some issues that people might have. It really depends on what phone you have as well. So I use the Samsung S21 Galaxy Ultra. I haven't had any issues, except for one day when it kept just freezing. And that day I just gave up. I was like, no, I'm not using it, I'm gonna get frustrated. So I just turned it off and didn't even try and fix it. That being said, people do have issues, and I'm not going to pretend that there aren't issues. So whether you purchase it or not, it's up to you. But from my experience with my phone and what I'm using it for, I would recommend it. Do I think it's worth the money? Yes, I do think it's worth the money. It is a robot. Like, when it all boils down to it, it's not going to be perfect. It's not like a human that can track everywhere you go. So just keep that in mind, and you're going to be using it for something similar to me, then I would recommend it. Just make sure you check out which phones it is compatible with, because there are some phones that it's not compatible with, and some tablets and things like that. Make sure you have it on the right settings and have a bit of a fiddle around. It's really important to keep it on airplane mode. I actually put mine on Do Not Disturb, and I've had no issues with that. Definitely join the communities. And good luck to you guys if you get a pivo. Let me know if you've got one down below, or if you're gonna get one, or which one you have. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.